So when people think about poverty as a problem, it's sort of a problem how or a problem for whom? I mean, if one's a compassionate person, it's a problem in one way. If one needs people's votes, it's a problem in another way. If people are likely to burn the capital, it's a problem in a third way. If Marxists are likely to organize in the hills, it's a problem in a fourth way. And I mean, I can imagine all sorts of ways. And if the poor are totally powerless and one is totally happy with one's life, it may be a problem in no way. So I'm wondering, how is poverty emerging as a problem, do you think, in the political context of a country like Botswana?
So let me just address your second to last point first, which is, I do think sometimes poverty is a social construction, to the extent that, if we define poverty in terms of monetary income earned, there's a temptation to look at a subsistence farmer and call he or she poor, when in fact maybe they're only earning $200 a year, but they have a very good life, they're producing enough food to feed their family, and they don't suffer from hunger. Okay, so I think a lot of conventional definitions of poverty really focus on a numeric, monetized understanding of poverty, which isn't always appropriate. Now that said, in the context of Botswana, we do have an increasingly monetized economy. And I think at the end of the day, if human welfare is significantly compromised, particularly in a context where a country is relatively well off, it's a middle income country, there are enough resources to go around, a lot of people would say that that's ethically unacceptable. If one group is leading a very comfortable life and another group is suffering from nutrition deficiencies, that's just not right. So, politicians, I would hope at some level, recognize that that's ethically unacceptable. They're probably thinking about votes as well. And I've also got to believe that there's an element of concern about social stability. And when a society becomes too deeply unequal, that can lead to social instability. And just to, when I was in Botswana, over these 5 months, I think 2 things happened that really brought that point home. Mali, which is a country in West Africa where I worked for many, many years, lived there for about 8 years. There was a coup d'etat in late March. A democratically elected president who was about to step down in a month was overthrown by a military coup. And I think part of what was going on there was a lot of concerns about corruption and the persistence of poverty, and a few people doing extremely well. I don't think that justifies the coup, but you could argue that social instability was part of what led to that event. And Mali has completely fallen apart. So when I was in Botswana, I think I was very cognizant of what happened in Mali, and in a sense grew really to appreciate the political stability that I experienced in Botswana. Closer to Botswana, its neighbor, South Africa, I think also has experienced, in the period when I was there, a lot of social unrest related to the persistence of inequality. So, South Africa as well is a deeply unequal country, and I think a lot of segments of the South African population are deeply concerned that poverty alleviation has not been a significant concern of the government. So, call it self-preservation, call it political savvy. I do think the Botswana government is concerned about poverty for reasons of social stability, for ethical reasons, so that it will persist as well in leadership.